Good afternoon, Milton families. My name is Tiffany Popwell. I'm the head counselor at Milton, and I'm going to be sharing the 2022-2023 Dual Enrollment Information Night presentation. We delivered this live on Thursday, January 26th. If you missed that, then you can choose to listen through this presentation. If you're fine with reading through on your own, you can go to the other one linked on our counseling website, which is just the PowerPoint with no voiceover. So to start, what is dual enrollment? It quite literally means that your student is dual enrolled. Duo means two, so they will be enrolled in high school and they will be enrolled at the college. Dual enrollment provides funding for students who are enrolled at eligible high schools to attend Georgia colleges, universities, and/or tech schools and take approved college-level coursework for credit towards both high school and college graduation requirements. Participants must meet admissions requirements for the individual institution for which they wish to enroll, and dual enrollment classes are offered during summer, fall, and spring terms. So what this is students can essentially double dip. A student can take college English at a college through dual enrollment program and still earn a high school English credit that they need to meet graduation requirements. So while they're only taking one class, they'll get a high school credit and they'll get a college credit. Throughout this presentation, you will see a lot of this alphabet soup or common dual enrollment acronyms. The first is DE, that is going to mean dual enrollment. SPA is the Student Participation Agreement Form. USG stands for the University System of Georgia. TCSG is for the Technical College System of Georgia. GSU is Georgia State University. GTC is Gwinnett Tech College. GT is Georgia Tech. SAP is Satisfactory Academic Progress, not to be confused with the SPA, which is your participation agreement. And then lastly, a W stands for withdrawn. You will see WF throughout the presentation, but I would like you to not get too comfortable with that because that means a withdrawal fail, and we do not want to see any students getting a withdrawal fail. So first, determining if dual enrollment is a good fit for your student. Students who are considered ready for dual enrollment are mature, organized, responsible, self-motivated, and on track for graduation. Students considered a good fit can take initiative. They can communicate with adults independently without parent support. They check their email regularly and are able to manage two schedules. That's their high school schedule and their college schedule. They can keep up with their plan for dual enrollment coursework fitting into their high school four-year plan. They work ahead to meet deadlines successfully, and they can overcome any logistical challenges of traveling to and from the local high school and college. So I do want to really place emphasis on the fact that if you, the parent, are completing any paperwork, applications, or sending materials on behalf of your student, this is a strong indicator that dual enrollment is not a good fit for your student yet. Students who are prepared for dual enrollment should be able to read through the directions independently and complete this process independently. That doesn't mean that you can't sit with your student and go through it together, but at no point in time should you just be doing this for your student. It really does not set the tone that your student is going to be successful because so much of the dual enrollment program is your student being self-sufficient, reaching out to adults, staying on top of deadlines, checking their email. So although you might be able to do this paperwork really easily for them, they're going to have a really hard time keeping up within the program if they're not good at taking care of their own stuff. There are two types of dual enrollment students at Milton. There's the full-time dual enrollment student. In order to be considered full-time, you have to take at least 4 college classes. That will be a total of 12 to 15 credit hours per semester. All of the classes can be taken on the college campus or online, or you can do a mix of the two. None of the students' courses are taken at Milton. And then the student is still enrolled at Milton and they're fully eligible to participate in clubs, extracurricular activities, sports, and events. The other and more popular type of student at Milton is the part-time dual enrollment student. So fewer than 12 credit hours are being taken. They have to be enrolled in 6 classes between Milton and the college. Now that we have the senior reduced course load in Fulton County, seniors are allowed to take a total of 5 classes. So technically your student could take a few dual enrollment and then a couple Milton for a total of 5. Your student needs to coordinate their dual enrollment courses with the periods that our Milton classes are offered. We want to allow for safe driving time between Milton and the college. So we will not have a student taking classes until 9:30 in the building and then having to get to Gwinnett Tech at 9:45 for one of their classes. We would most likely encourage a student to take some kind of cushion class, like an online, so that they could have a little bit of travel time to the college. We don't want to encourage students rushing around, especially in a car. That's just a safety issue. Students are also not allowed to enter and exit Milton's campus multiple times a day. So your student will either do their dual enrollment in the morning and then come into campus late, or they will do their dual enrollment in the afternoon and leave campus early. But what we don't have is students who are taking dual enrollment in the middle of their day so that they're here at Milton for first and second, leaving, and then coming back for sixth and seventh. We only put them at the top end or the bottom end of the course schedule. Some general information about dual enrollment is that students in grades 10 through 12 are eligible to participate. Specific colleges might have age requirements. So Georgia Tech might say you have to be 16 years old. So even though your student meets the criteria of 10th grade, the specific school of Georgia Tech says you have to be a certain age. Once a student graduates, they're no longer eligible, so your student will have access to these dual enrollment funds until the end of May of their senior year. The summer after senior year, they are not eligible to receive dual enrollment funding because they have graduated from Fulton County. There is no credit recovery for college classes, so if your student fails a dual enrollment course, we will have to put them in a completely new course at Milton to recover a credit, but it's not going to be a credit recovery style class, if that makes sense. To be more clear, if your student fails English 1101 at the college, we would have to put them in a full year of multicultural lit in the spring so that they could get that full year of lit. Multicultural lit's not a recovery class, it's just a full year English they would have to get in a shorter period of time. Again, students can participate in fall, spring, and summer. Fulton County Schools maintain 2 deadlines for declaring your participation. So if your student wants to do dual enrollment this summer or this fall, they have to complete all of the Fulton County paperwork by March 31st. That means your student needs to book a meeting with their assigned counselor. They need to talk through the advisement form with their counselor, and then they need to turn in that paperwork to me by March 31st. If your student knows that they want to do internship or something like that in the fall and they only want to do dual enrollment next spring, their deadline's pushed back significantly. They don't have to turn in paperwork for spring of 2024 until November 1st of this year. All communication goes through the student. So I can't call the college and have them tell me what's going on with them. You can't call the college and have them tell you what's going on with them. The student is considered an undergraduate student at that point. So they are the ones that have to make these phone calls because they have to provide their student ID number, they have to provide their courses, etc. And so we are very dependent on the student being responsible enough to navigate those situations. If your student has an IEP or 504, you or the student can contact the college to request appropriate accommodations. You would contact the dual enrollment office directly for more information. High school counselors don't have that for you. Students can take a maximum of 15 credit hours per term. How you get to those 15 credit hours completely depends on the classes that you choose. So most classes in college are worth 3 credit hours. Some of the higher level math classes are worth 4 credit hours. Some of the science classes are 3 credit hours, but they are paired with a 1 credit hour lab. So your student could be in a 4 credit hour math, 2 3 credit hour classes. That's 10 credits so far, and then maybe another lab. So however you mix and match it, you can only take a maximum of 15 credit hours per semester. PE can only be taken by a full-time dual enrollment student who's enrolled in 12 credit hours or more, and PE classes are not available at Technical College System of Georgia institutions. Each college can maintain their own deadlines, qualifications for admissions, institution-specific guidelines, etc. For example, the student-parent agreement, orientation, institution holds, FERPA waivers, and picking up or returning textbooks. So some colleges, like Auburn First, require you to attend an orientation before they let you register. Georgia State, for example, requires that you complete your funding app before they'll take the funding hold off. Gwinnett Tech will let a student register for classes and then do the funding app, which is backwards if you're comparing it to Georgia State. So you really have to pay close attention to, once you pick your school, stay in that lane and don't worry about what everyone else is doing. That can get really confusing. It can be really stressful, but as long as you're focusing on your college, your path, your deadlines, and your materials, you will be just fine. Milton is not responsible for overcoming logistics matters for students or for ensuring that your students meet their dates and deadlines, including taking final exams. So we're not going to be sending out reminders of, hey, check your college email, or hey, make sure you turn in that project for college English. We are not employees of the colleges. We don't have access to their academic work at the colleges. We don't get included on those emails or deadlines. So we really are not able to hold their hands through that. Again, bringing back in that piece where your student is going to want to be someone who will pay close attention to their email and on top of those deadlines and dates. If your students have specific questions related to their application, college courses, or anything else, they need to contact the college. Students can only participate in dual enrollment at colleges and universities that agree to participate. The full list is located on the Georgia Futures website. Due to our geographic location, Milton students mainly participate at Georgia State Perimeter, Gwinnett Tech, and Georgia Tech Distance Math. We do have some students who do Kennesaw or North Georgia. We also have a handful of students who, now that Auburn First is an option, will take dual enrollment classes through Auburn. Again, your students have to take approved coursework at each institution. If you look through the college course directory or the dual enrollment course directory, it will allow you to pick the school year, pick the college, and then pick the subject. And everything in that catalog is available for funding through the dual enrollment program. I do want to say that all the schools there are eligible to be a dual enrollment school for your student. The one thing that I want to kind of like pull you back on is your student is more than welcome to take a dual enrollment class through Valdosta State. If that's what they want to do, totally fine. I would just make sure that your student reaches out and confirms that if your student takes a class at Valdosta State, obviously it would need to be online because they're 4 hours away. But you would also want to make sure that the student doesn't have to report to the college campus for their assessments. So you could see how that can be really difficult if your student signs up through Valdosta, and even though it's online, they have to go sit on campus for their tests. How often are they having to drive 4 hours away to go sit and take that test? So that's really the only reason that you wouldn't choose a school far away. We don't choose GSU or GTC or Georgia Tech because they're better than anyone. It's specifically for proximity and driving purposes. We don't want to encourage students driving really far. Next, we'll talk about dual enrollment grading, credits, weight, and withdrawals. So your colleges, when your student takes a class there, the college will assign a letter grade, and then Fulton County will convert them into numerical averages. Fulton County adds 7 honors points to the final passing college course grades. So your student, if they get an F or a WF, they do not get the 7 points. It stands as the F. For Hope Scholarship, core dual enrollment classes will receive, sorry. For Hope Scholarship, core dual enrollment classes receive a 0.5 weight up to a maximum 4.0 and count as academic rigor. Final grades for all dual enrollment classes are posted to the high school transcript, whether that is an A, B, C, D, F, W, F, it all goes on the high school transcript. If a student withdraws from a course and does not transfer or enroll in another course at the college or high school, he or she will receive a W as a final mark on the high school transcript. The W does not earn any credit, nor does it hurt the GPA. So to offer some clarity on that, every college has a withdrawal deadline. It's typically the exact midpoint of their college semester. And so your student can pull out of that class anytime leading up to the withdrawal deadline. And it will not hurt their GPA. It will not hurt their credits. Nothing will happen other than we'll just have to put them in something at Milton, most likely a PE or something of that sort, so that they can still get a credit. It just won't be the college one. If your student withdraws from a class after the midpoint, Then it becomes a WF, and then your student does get a numerical grade for that WF. It's a 60, and that will go on the student's transcript. It's, depending on what your student's graduation status is, it might not hurt their chances of graduation, but it will definitely hurt their GPA. So I try to stay away from withdrawing after the midpoint of the semester. You can see this chart off to the right side. The grade posted to the college transcript will be a letter grade. Here is the raw score that they would earn in Fulton County. And then after we add the 7 points for the passing courses, this is what would actually post to the high school transcript. And then lastly, how credits are awarded. So through dual enrollment, if a course is worth 1 to 2 semester credit hours, you would get a half high school credit. So think your college labs that are worth 1 credit hour, you'll get a half credit for that. And then your courses that are 3 to 5 credit hours, they'll get a full year credit. So if your student takes English 1101 in the fall, that is a 3 credit hour class. And that means that if your student passes English 1101 in the fall, they will get a full credit of English in just 1 semester. Satisfactory academic progress. So students must maintain satisfactory academic progress as defined by their selected institution to remain eligible to participate in dual enrollment. So that just means that it depends on your school for how strictly they hold you to your academic progress. A common requirement of meeting SAP is maintaining a college GPA of 2.0 or higher each semester. Students are responsible for checking with the selected institution to confirm requirements. So it varies. Some colleges, if your student falls down below that 2.0 mark, might get put on something called academic probation, and the college will still let them enroll, but if they do fail another class, then they get kicked out of the program. And like I said, that's completely dependent on the college, and your student will have to reach out directly to figure out what are the thresholds of how I have to perform. Students who are found ineligible to continue in dual enrollment will be required to return to the high school the following semester, and their grad status may be at risk. This just means that if your student fails out, obviously they come back to taking all classes at Milton. If they were really banking on those credits counting towards graduation, that might hurt them as far as just putting them off track. If you don't do well enough in your classes, colleges might require you to withdraw at the end of the semester if you're not meeting their SAP policies. Additional considerations for dual enrollment, there's the potential to earn college credit. So you want to make sure that you're checking with specific colleges and universities that you're applying to if the credits you're taking now in college are transferable. Some students may not accept all or any of the credits that you're earning. It's completely up to your college that you decide to go to as undergrad if they want to take your credits. So for example, you might have taken English 1101, English 1102, maybe college algebra through dual enrollment, and then you get into Harvard, and Harvard says, you can't bring any of those credits here. You still have to take them when you get here. That's completely up to Harvard. That doesn't mean your credits aren't great. It just depends on the school that you go to, whether or not they accept the credit. Some basic college classes may not be viewed as rigorously as an AP class. In some instances, it's better for a student to stay in AP to remain competitive for some highly competitive schools. If we had to rank rigor from hardest to easiest or most manageable classes at Milton, AP is the most rigorous, then dual enrollment, then honors, then on level. Contact the college for recommendations. So if you're not sure if your dream school, which is Harvard, prefers AP or dual enrollment, you can call them. You can call their admissions office. They're the ones who are actually processing your applications and who are actually accepting you into the school. So their opinion matters a lot more than the high school counselor's opinion on what we think is harder or better. Call your school, say, hi, I'm a student. I'm putting together my schedule for senior year or junior year. I really want to come to your school. Would you prefer to see a student with more APs, or would you prefer to see a student with more dual enrollment, or both? You can ask those questions. Every student's path is unique. So just because your friends are doing one thing does not mean you have to do that also. Keep in mind, like, it is nice to be different. It is nice to have your own path. Everyone being the same and doing the same thing doesn't make for a very interesting applicant pool. You will earn a full credit for each dual enrollment class you take. That is 3 to 5 credit hours. Anything that is 1 to 2, again, that's only a half credit for high school. You'll get a firsthand idea of what's required of attending college. If you already have a busy and stressful schedule, additional requirements of dual enrollment can cause your grades to suffer and defeat its own purpose. So, dual enrollment is not for everyone. If this already sounds too overwhelming and too much to manage, that's okay. You can still take a very rigorous course load in the building at Milton and through Fulton Virtual or GAVS if you choose to do so, in addition to all of your outside activities. The courses that you take through dual enrollment are real college classes. So they're going to go on your college transcript and stay there forever. So you need to feel confident that you're able to do well. It's really nice as an opportunity for free college, but it's also really scary because if your student pushes themselves to go into dual enrollment before they're ready and then ends up failing a class, their starting college GPA is going to be a 0.0 on their college transcript, because when they get into their actual school after they graduate high school, they ask them to send all of their high school and college transcripts that they've completed. So it really puts them off on a difficult foot to get out of, or a difficult spot to get out of when they fail a class and start with a 0 GPA. The schedule might not work with the classes you take at Milton, which can result in you not being able to participate, and it's not because we don't want you to. It genuinely just depends what else you're planning on taking. If you're a student who's planning on taking AP Physics C and AP Calc BC and some of the more difficult classes that we offer but don't have a ton of sections of, that can make your dual enrollment schedule a little bit harder to navigate because we might only have one period of AP Physics C and it conflicts with the period that you need to take dual enrollment. So I'm just going to clarify the two schedules. First is your high school schedule. That's you in the spring, you are going to identify your projected courses of interest, high school and dual enrollment. So once you complete your Fulton County contract, send your transcript, test scores, show proof of college application / acceptance, complete your parent agreement form. A placeholder is going to be put in your Milton schedule, and it looks like this. So it's a really ugly placeholder. A lot of students come and they're like, hey, I said I wanted college English. Until you register for college English and send me your college schedule proving that you signed up for the class you said you were going to, you're going to have a placeholder in your schedule. And the placeholder says DELA pending acceptance AM. So that is dual enrollment, language arts, pending acceptance, and AM means that you wanted it in the morning half of your day. So even though that looks crazy and scary to you, it actually makes sense to us. And that's what that means. It means you still haven't turned in your college schedule, so you don't have the official class in your schedule. You have to provide that schedule to me by Friday, August 4th. I want to clear all placeholders by Friday, August 4th, because students start school Monday, August the 7th. And if you do not turn in your college schedule by Friday, August 4th, I'm going to put you in a Milton class for the first day of school. But once you do turn in that schedule, you'll see something in your schedule like college advanced comp, which makes a lot more sense because that means you've confirmed and you no longer have the placeholder. Just because you have a placeholder in your schedule does not mean that you are registered for the class. You have to register and send me the college schedule. Counselors do not work for the colleges. We cannot register you for college classes. You telling me that you want that is great and we support you, but you have to actually go and do the signing up. There is no point that the counselor will sign you up for anything through dual enrollment. It's all you. You have to do that. So on the flip side, here's your college schedule. Once you meet all of your college requirements for registration and you've done the parent agreement form and you've done your Fulton County contract, you'll turn all that into me, Ms. Popwell. If at any point in time you need to make a change, you have to tell me before you go in and make any changes. It's not because I'm grouchy and I'm being difficult. It's because schools like Georgia State, if you don't tell me to update your funding application with your new class before you sign up for your new class, Georgia State is going to see that the class you signed up for is not the class that I funded, and it's going to drop you from the class you signed up for. So if you don't tell me before you do that so that I can change your paperwork, it's going to drop you from the class. Okay, that's not me doing that. That's all on the college side. Georgia State is very particular about the steps and the order that you sign up for classes. So you have to communicate with me, and it can be an email. You don't have to make a meeting, but you can email me and say, hey, I really want this class. Can you please update my funding app? I'll update it, and then I'll say, okay, I've updated it. Now you can register. But it has to be a conversation, and it has to go in that order. You're required to provide a copy of your college schedule to me so that I can make sure your Milton schedule is updated with the correct dual enrollment placeholders or classes. The deadline to register for college classes and submit a copy of your schedule to me is Friday, August 4th. Okay, again, if you don't get me everything completely done by Friday, August 4th, you are going to be in Milton classes for the first day of school. I'm not going to chase you the first week of school. It's an extremely busy time. You have to be responsible enough to meet this deadline. It is what it is. I'm going to keep it really hard and firm. You've got to get that to me by Friday, August 4th. So here are the roles and responsibilities. You can see that there is a ton to do on the student part. None of it is particularly difficult, but a lot of this work falls on the student, and that's because you want to be a college student and you have to do the work. So you're going to be applying to the college. You're submitting your documents. You are submitting your acceptance to me, the dual enrollment coordinator. You are setting up a meeting with your assigned counselor to make sure that the classes you're picking fit your high school graduation requirements. You are attending college orientation. You're setting up your email. You're setting up your college. You're attending orientation, registering for your classes. You're doing the funding app first because until you create the funding application, I have nothing to go in and approve. If you haven't completed your funding app, your end, it doesn't even show up as you existing in my portal. Like you create your own existence in my portal. You have to make sure you do your FERPA waivers. Make sure you give me that schedule by August 4th so that I can finalize your high school schedule. And then you have to follow your college class schedule for attendance testing and then take any direction from the college. So you'll want to make sure if you get into dual enrollment and you decide to do it, you need to add your college email to your phone and turn on your notifications. And I would do the same thing for your Milton email. I mean, really, email is the most effective and widely used form of communication with Milton and with dual enrollment. So you should have your notifications on for those anyway, so that you're getting those important emails. The counselor roles, we're going to communicate the opportunities. So it's on our counseling website. It's in this presentation. We held a parent night. We have packets in the counseling suites available for pickup. We will offer academic advisement and answer parent questions as needed throughout the process, specific to the high school side. We can't tell you what college sociology is like and what kind of work you have because we don't work at the college. We have no access to that content or curriculum. We can't really tell you what that's like. You'd have to call the college. You have to make sure that you're signing the student participation agreement form, the dual enrollment contract, and doing your funding app. And then we're also doing that to make sure it's filled out correctly with you. And then lastly, I've said it once, I'll say it again, make sure that you're giving me your college schedule by August 4th so that I can finalize your Milton schedule by August 4th for a smooth first day of school. Some additional processes that Milton counselors do not and cannot manage. It's not because we want to be difficult, it's because we truly don't have access to a lot of these items and they don't fall under the scope or possibility of a high school counselor's role. First, we have zero control over your college schedule and what courses they have available. You might have it set in your heart that you want to take online college psychology, and by the time you get on there, it's not available. There is nothing we can do about that. There is nobody that we can call or bully or anything. It just means the class is full and you have to pick something different. It's your responsibility to make sure that you're at your college exams on the date and time outlined on your syllabus that's given to you by your college professor. Courses that you take online might still have face-to-face exams, so make sure you're checking your email, check your syllabi, mark your calendars, and plan accordingly. College breaks and holidays are different than those outlined at Fulton. For example, a lot of college spring breaks are in March. College classes are not always offered at times that align with the Milton schedule. Additionally, popular course times fill up quickly. So The online college English classes fill up really quickly. That's because students want to take college English and they want to take it online. So obviously they're signing up for them as soon as it opens. We have no control over the acceptance process. If you have an issue with whether or not your student was accepted or denied, you would need to call the college and ask them why. That's not the high school counselor doing that. If you have issues with holds regarding admissions or registration, again, you have to call the college because they know their portal. They will tell you why you have a hold and how to take it off. And then lastly, counselors cannot communicate between you and the college about individual situations. So like if you were absent or if you missed a quiz or if you don't know how to get a textbook, you should not be reaching out to the high school counselor to reach out to the college. You should just be reaching out to the college directly. Your counselor is here to advise and support you through the entire process, but it's important to remember that once you join this program, you're an independent college student while you're still in high school, and you have to meet the same expectations of an undergraduate student. Additional critically important points, always check your college email. Always, always, always. Check your personal email account regularly. So if you're looking at the dual enrollment checklist that I created, it says on there to apply to the college using your personal email. You should be doing the application process yourself as a student. Your parents should not be doing this for you. You need to communicate directly with the colleges about your application, any questions, registration, classes, grades, textbooks. You need to make sure you clear your holds. Some popular holds that pop up for Georgia State students are emergency contact hold. That just means that you haven't gone in there and put in emergency contacts. It's a really easy hold to clear, but you have to go in and do your part. An additional hold that you might see through Georgia State is a funding hold. That means that you haven't told me what class you want to take. Therefore, until I put in a class in the funding application, you're not allowed to sign up for anything. So you have to have a funding app on file. I have to pick or you pick a class, tell me what to fund, and then it will let you go in and register for it. The student participation agreement is really crucial. Make sure that you're filling that out. Make sure you're updating me, Ms. Popwell, with any changes every time. Every single time you make a change, you have to let me know so that I can make sure your paperwork reflects properly or you're at risk of getting dropped from your classes. If you do decide to drop a class by the withdrawal deadline, you have to talk to your Milton counselor, your assigned counselor, before you drop, because your counselor has your tracking sheet and they will tell you, okay, if you drop out of this college English class, this is what you need to do to make sure you still get that English credit you need to graduate. Make sure all of your forms are completed correctly and completely. Pay attention to all of your deadlines and work ahead of your deadlines. If you are not waiting until the last minute, if you hit a snag or something weird comes up, you actually have time to deal with it and you're not panicking that you have to deal with it in 24 hours. And I share this every year, but we still have students every year who come the day before something is due, and colleges can take 5 to 7 days to process items. That's not atypical for them. They work really slowly, they do what they want, and they're allowed to do that because they're private institutions. So, coming the day before, they don't care about doing stuff really fast for us, and they won't do stuff really fast. So stay ahead of your deadlines. Your goal should be to be registered for your college classes and give your schedule to me before May 26th, which is the last day of school. If you can get all of this taken care of before the summer, then that is like the best place to be. That's where you want to be. Some tips for selecting your classes. Again, check out the dual enrollment course catalog or course directory. It has to be a class from that directory if it's going to be funded through the dual enrollment program. Note that courses listed in that directory are approved for state funding. You will still need to refer to the college schedule courses to see if the college offers your class. So just because the state will fund a class doesn't mean that like Gwinnett Tech or Georgia State offers that class. You can use Georgia Tracks to identify classes or courses that will transfer in Georgia. That's college to college. Students who are planning to attend a USG institution right after graduation should consult the Staying the Course document to make sure that what you're taking meets high school graduation requirements. Your counselor does majority of that piece for you. That's why you're meeting with your assigned counselor to make sure that the class you choose fits your Staying the Course document. And lastly, if you're doing a technical school, like if you're doing Gwinnett Tech and you want to make sure that your Gwinnett Tech credits transfer, then you can use that TCSG to USG General Education Transfer Chart. So what courses can students take to meet graduation requirements? First, through English, students cannot take ninth grade literature. That has to be taken as a high school course. You can do American Lit instead. I'm sorry, you can do American Lit through dual enrollment, but it's going to be called College American Lit and it's going to be out of sequence. And the reason for that is English 1101 and English 1102 are prerequisites for College American Lit. So you would have to take English 1101 and 1102 as a junior, and then you could take College American Lit as a senior, and that will still get you your fourth English and your required American Lit credit. Even though you're taking American Lit through college, you have to take the 11th American Lit EOC. That's a state test. If you're a student who's planning on using AP Lang to waive out of English 1101, this situation gets a little hairy. We had a lot of students get stuck with this current school year. So you've taken the AP exam in May. You have to wait for the scores to come in. Once the scores come in, you can send them to Georgia State or Gwinnett Tech or wherever you plan to go and say, hey, can I use my AP scores to exempt English 1101 and go straight into 1102? Normally that's fine, but by the time you get your scores, send them, and they process the scores, registration is typically already open, and a lot of the 1102 classes fill up. So this year we had a lot of students who they were just waiting on their AP scores to get processed, and they didn't do anything wrong. They did it as soon as they got it. They weren't being slow. It's just on the college side, it's on the tail end of their registration. So students missed out on getting into 1102 for the fall. If this is you, I would plan to take any dual enrollment elective in the fall and then do 1102 for the spring. That way there's time for the college to process your AP Lang AP exam scores. It really is a race against time. It's not your fault. You can't help it. You just have to, I mean, you don't have access to your scores until May, and then you have to send them and then they have to process them. It's just a lot going on in a really small time frame. And so it kind of messes you up. For math, it's the most restrictive area. Students have to take Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 before you can take a college level math class. College algebra is not equivalent to Algebra 2. College algebra can count as your fourth math. You should ensure that the math class or classes are appropriate for your post-secondary major and qualifying admissions to your target college. And students can take math placement tests at the college to enter higher level math classes. For science, all science graduation requirements can be met through dual enrollment. Courses can't be duplicated unless there's a course number in the dual enrollment course catalog that has an alternate option. For example, it will be a high school number that has a letter in it. If you don't know what that means, when you meet with your counselor, you can ask. You can't take high school biology in ninth grade and then college biology later on if the course number is not different. Students who are taking science classes that align with Fulton County grad requirements, for example, biology, physical science, physics, or your approved third and fourth science. Students who are taking college biology are still required to take the biology EOC if you never took it in ninth grade. This would be extremely rare. Majority of students who go on to take college science have already taken biology in high school and have already done that EOC. For social studies, all social studies graduation requirements can be taken through dual enrollment. For example, world history, US history, American government, and economics. If you take US history this summer or next school year to meet your US history graduation requirement, you still have to take the EOC at the high school. Again, that's a state test. It's required. We can't duplicate courses unless there's another course number. And this is pretty redundant. You're taking classes that align with the Fulton County required social studies classes. For electives, students can take approved courses such as fine arts, world language, and career tech courses to meet the 3 required fine arts, world language, and career tech credits for graduation. Select courses that align with your post-secondary goals. So if you know that you want to be an accountant, you might take an accounting class. If you know that you want to go into gender studies, you might take a, women's studies class, gender studies class. PE courses are no longer funded through dual enrollment unless you're full-time. And again, those are not offered at the technical schools. The most popular classes that we see students take at Milton are college English, American government. There are 3 different versions of economics through Georgia State. A lot of students will take one of them, either the global economy, principles of micro, or principles of macro. They'll take psychology, sociology, US history, college algebra, and some other electives that students are in right now, philosophy, geography, astronomy, and media, culture, and society. These next few slides, I'm just going to let you read on your own. I just wanted to include a slide of deadlines for everyone. Key points to consider for Georgia State. 1, the link to their dual enrollment page is down here. Do your research. Go through and read there. Don't just look at what I'm posting. You need to go through and read everything about it. The key things for Georgia State is it can take up to 21 days for them to give you a decision on whether you got in or not. Okay, do not wait until May 1st to apply for the fall. Their application for fall closes on May 1st, but remember, your paperwork is due to me by March 31st. Just because you do the paperwork on time, it doesn't mean you have to do your application by then. But if you wait until May 1st, it could take up to 21 days to get in. So now you're looking at May 22nd before you get a decision. And then you have to get your holds lifted. And then you have to register for your class and do your orientation. So we're already pushing into the summer, which is fine. But if registration opens early and you don't have access to anything until the summer, then you're going to miss out on the really good class times. So the sooner you're on top of this, the better position you'll be to get the course times and courses that you want. This is the page for Gwinnett Tech. Key points to consider is that Gwinnett Tech has a quicker turnover for the admission decision, and they also accept PSAT scores in addition to SAT or ACT to get in. I've linked their dual enrollment page for you to do your research. Next, we have Kennesaw. Their deadlines are earlier than anyone else's. If you want to do Kennesaw in the fall, you have to get all of this taken care of by April 14th. That's the earliest one that we have. Do your research. They have early deadlines. They're a really good school, but for some reason, their dual enrollment program can be a little bit difficult to deal with. I don't know what it is. It's not like the classes are harder or anything. I just think they work on their own time and they work with their own process that's so different than the other schools that it just becomes kind of difficult to manage. I think right now we only have 2 students in all of Milton who are taking Kennesaw classes through dual enrollment. And then another option is Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech offers distance math year 1 and year 2, and they offer distance computer science. All of your tests for Georgia Tech are actually taken on campus at Milton. They have to be in a proctored environment, and our media center specialist, Ms. McMillan, is usually the one who oversees those tests. Sometimes I'll step in if she's out. There are additional academic requirements on the Georgia Tech website. You can't just sign up for Georgia Tech Math. You have to have successful completion in AP Calc BC and submit your AP scores. Because they require that, their application is a lot later than everyone else. So you'll notice Georgia State's deadline to apply for fall was May 1st. The application doesn't even open for Georgia Tech until May 15th. And you have to apply between May 15th and June 15th. You can't do it any earlier or any later. Counselors are aware of that. We're not going to punish you for missing the general deadlines. We know that you cannot help their deadlines, and we're going to follow them too. You still have to turn in your Fulton County paperwork by March 31st. You're not going to be able to get me a college schedule by May 26th because obviously you're not going to get an admissions decision until a little bit later, and I'll show you that on the next slide. But do your research. Okay, here's a good example. This is straight from Georgia Tech's website. The application for fall is open May 15th through June 15th. You have to send in your transcripts and SAT/ACT scores by June 15th. You have to send your AP scores in by July 10th, and they're not going to tell you if you got in until July 17th. July 17th is when counselors come back to work for the following school year. So we know and anticipate that that's when we're going to get your college admissions letter. And then they're going to, I think Georgia Tech just registers you for your classes because you're applying for a specific course. And then all of your additional paperwork is due to them by August 1st, which means you should have no issue getting me everything you need to get me by August 4th. Auburn First is new as of last year, or maybe this year is the first year we're doing it. If you're interested in Auburn First, I tried to get a guest speaker at our presentation, but I was unable to secure one. So if you, we'll let this run really quickly.
914 will ride 4115. Thank you. Also, Eagles, don't forget today is game day for the girls and boys basketball teams. JV plays at 4:30. Varsity girls play at 6 and boys play at 7:30. Tonight we're against West Forsyth, so come out and support our Eagles. Also, there is a Milton girls soccer game at 6 o'clock, so show your support. Let's go, Eagles. Have a great day.
All right, I was hoping to get the recording done before the announcements, but we're almost there. If you are interested in speaking with a representative from Auburn, every Tuesday in February at noon, they are going to have a virtual information session for students, parents, and counselors. So highly encourage you to use this QR code or this link, aub.ie/AUFirstInfo. You can sign up there, or you can email the Auburn First team at aufirst@auburn.edu. The biggest difference with Auburn is that these are not funded through the county or the state. You have to pay for those classes yourself. They let you pay in-state tuition for these classes. If you complete 6 credit hours by the start of your senior year, then you get automatic admission to Auburn. Just because you're in does not mean you're getting in-state tuition. So if you get accepted, you'd still have to pay your out-of-state tuition to go there, but you don't have to worry about not getting in. You get automatically accepted. So, you know, if the money is not an issue for you as far as going and you just really want to go because it's your dream school, then you can do that. Additional resources, if you want to look at course options, what Auburn First offers, you can click here. And then if you want to look at the Auburn First flyer and application process, you can click here. Their deadlines are also a little bit different. If you want to apply for the summer, that is the earliest deadline you'll have. You have to apply by March 15th. So that's coming up in about a month and a half. If you know you want to do summer classes at Auburn, if you are a rising senior who wants to take advantage of the automatic admission and you have not taken Auburn First classes yet, you would need to take 2 classes this summer because you have to get 6 credit hours by the start of senior year. So just remember that. Do your research. All the links are here. If you still want to apply for dual enrollment, use this process, okay? In the hallway, there was paperwork available for pickup. It was a copy of this, a copy of the dual enrollment contract, and a copy of the dual enrollment student checklist. First, you're either attending the dual enrollment information night, or you are watching this presentation, or you are viewing the PowerPoint. This is a crucial step in determining if dual enrollment is the right fit for you. If you can't make it, that's totally fine. We are going to have the recording up for you. Your next step is to print your dual enrollment contract and then book a meeting with your assigned counselor. That is not me, okay? You're going to book a meeting with your assigned counselor. You're going to come to that meeting with your completed contract. And then if you need to print it, you can click this link. But if once you get to that meeting, your counselor is going to do the advisement form with you. That's also known as the student-parent agreement. Once you've done that, you're going to take it home, get your final parent signatures, and then you're going to turn in all of your paperwork to me, Miss Popwell. I'm in 1340. You're going to come bring me all of your paperwork, and then you're going to work with me for the remainder of the process. The only reason that I'm not doing advisement meetings is because there are so many students interested in it. My calendar cannot accommodate all the meetings by the time that the paperwork is due. So you're meeting with your assigned counselor. Make sure that the classes you're picking fit your grad requirements, make sure your paperwork is done correctly, and then you're going to turn in all of your signed paperwork to me. And then you're going to continue working through the dual enrollment checklist. So work through the steps on this dual enrollment checklist, complete the application process, and strictly adhere to all of your deadlines. The checklist is very straightforward. You can follow it from top to bottom. There are tons of helpful links on that checklist. It's on the counseling website. It's most beneficial to use it in digital form because you can click the links. If you wanted to get a paper form, that's fine. You just can't click the links on it. But we'll give you paper if you like to just tangibly write stuff down. So yeah, you got your contract, your student parent agreement, which is what you do with your counselor, and then you do your funding application, which is on the dual enrollment checklist. How to do the funding application and the link to the funding application are all linked on the checklist. The most important deadlines that you need to pay attention to, the first is March 31st. This is when you need to have already met with your counselor. Okay, you already need to meet with your counselor, have done your dual enrollment contract, and you'll do the dual enrollment advisement form with your counselor, and you'll turn all of this stuff into me in Suite 1340. By May 26th, I need proof that you got accepted to the college. I need you to prove to me that you got accepted, okay? Georgia State's dual enrollment application deadline is May 1st. So even if they take the full 21 days, you will still be able to tell me if you got in and show proof of acceptance by May 26th. Summer 2023, the earlier you begin this, the better. So you have to go to an orientation probably. You'll need to register for the exact courses that we discussed. If you register for anything different or like any class differently than what we discussed, you have to let me know so that I can update your funding application. You have to provide me a copy of your college schedule before I take out any placeholders in your schedule. Your goal is to get accepted and register for your classes before May 26th, unless you are planning on doing Georgia Tech. Okay, everyone else should be able to meet those deadlines. And again, August 4th, you have to have all of your paperwork uploaded to the dual enrollment teams, which you'll get invited to the dual enrollment teams once you turn in all your paperwork to me. If you do not provide a college schedule to me by Friday, August 4th, I'm going to put you in a Milton class. And the last thing I want to share is please be flexible throughout this process. You will find that some of your college classes that you really want will conflict with your Milton classes. Classes fill up, processing times are slow, and failure to effectively communicate any changes with me can set you back. So work ahead of your deadlines and communicate to avoid disappointment. Here are additional resources. So our counseling website, how to get to our dual enrollment page, the technical school dual enrollment site, Georgia Futures, Georgia Department of Education dual enrollment information, USG site for transfer students, Georgia tracks, and then staying the course to make sure that the classes you take are meeting high school grad requirements. And then at the end of the presentation, we took questions in the hall. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, or you can reach out to your assigned counselor, because we're all trained in dual enrollment and we can all help answer these questions. But since I don't have a caseload at Milton, my entire caseload is the dual enrollment students. So you work primarily with me once you actually do the initial steps of the process. So my email is popwellt@fultonschools.org. You can email me. It's really difficult to get me on the phone. So if you try to call, there's a good chance that I'm off with someone or in a meeting. Email is your best bet for reaching me, and I will get back to you within 24 hours. I hope that you found this presentation helpful. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening if you made it this far.